Hello, everyone. It's Pastor Lynette Chapman coming to you from my office here at Good Shepherd Lutheran Church. Advent, the season of Advent, is just around the corner. It is one of my favorite seasons of the church year, probably because of the Advent wreath. My family long had a tradition of lighting an Advent wreath at home every day during the season of Advent. Advent, of course, is that season when we prepare for the coming of Christ, yes, the celebration of his coming at Christmas, also for preparing for the coming of Christ in glory at the end of time. And as we go through the season of Advent and the days outside get shorter, the light on our wreath gets brighter, kind of combating the shadows with the light of Christ. The Advent wreath is an ancient tradition, an ancient way of practicing that spirituality, that defiance of the shadows of the year, and bringing some light into our households and into our waiting and into our preparation. However, this year, my Advent wreath, which is a pretty gold circle with little places for tapers to be put, and usually I use nice blue candles that sit in that Advent wreath, and we light a new one every week. That lovely Advent wreath and those lovely blue candles are packed away in a storage unit somewhere in West Champaign. So what am I going to do? I thought, how am I going to have an Advent wreath without ordering a whole new one this Advent? How would I continue that practice? My guess is that if you have the practice of an Advent wreath, you know all this already, but maybe you don't have that practice in your family tradition. Maybe it's not something that you've ever done, but with spending more and more time in our spiritual lives anyway at home right now, less and less time here, we can't gather and light an Advent wreath together. It might just be that this year is the year that you want to start this practice for yourself, for you alone, for you and your family, for just this opportunity to celebrate the growing light against the growing shadows. So how do you do that without a proper Advent wreath? Well, an Advent wreath doesn't have to be anything particularly special. It's a wreath, a circle, which is a symbol for eternity, for everlasting life, for the things without end that our God gives us. Often it's made of evergreens, again, that symbol of eternity, that symbol of forever. And sometimes it's decorated with different things that remind us of royalty or light or the silvers and golds and sparkles, again, of light. Sometimes it's decorated with pine cones or with things from the natural world around us. But really what's important is that it's a circle. Maybe it has some evergreens to help reinforce that forever eternity-ness of it. And then, of course, it has candles, right? 4 candles, one for each week of Advent. And we light the first candle on the first Sunday and continue lighting that first candle all through the first week. And then the second Sunday, we light 2 candles and continue lighting those 2 candles throughout that second week. And then third Sunday and 3 candles, and fourth Sunday and 4 candles, and all of that. And some people still use 3 purple candles and 1 pink candle for the pink candle was lit on the 3rd Sunday of Advent for joy, Gaudete Sunday. That's an older tradition. Usually we use blue, but they don't have to be blue. They don't have to be purple and pink. They really can be any color you have around. White is, of course, the easiest candle color to find, and that's probably as appropriate as blue anyway. That Christ candle that we have is a white candle. So if we're talking about the coming of Christ, white is not a bad color. It's the color of our baptismal candles. So, if you don't have blue, white is an excellent substitute, and it's really easy to find. So I thought, what can I find that would make a great Advent wreath for use here in my office or for use at home with my family, even though I don't have a proper Advent wreath this year. So I went shopping, and I went to Target because I like Target, and I found a wreath, just a wreath, plain old wreath that you might hang on your door or decorate with at Christmas. $10, so not terribly expensive. And I found some candle holders, some tea light holders, just glass like this. And my thought is to nestle these candle holders in the greens of the Advent wreath, kind of like that. Just nestling 4 of them around using of course this is going to sit on a table and not move. And then I have some tea lights, again, something you can pretty easily find. It's hard to show my face and the wreath at the same time, so apologies. But a tea light simply in there, pretty easy, right? And if you use a tea light up and you need to replace it, well, you've got plenty in your little box. I also got these white candles. They're a little bit taller than a tea light. They're just votive candles. You could use those too. You might, if you're going to use something a little bit bigger, you might want to hot glue these in place so that the glass doesn't shift. Of course, if you have little ones, you can use battery-operated candles instead because that might be safer. Although I will say that when I was a kid, one of my favorite things about doing the Advent wreath with my family was getting to blow out the candles at the end. So even though my parents were the ones who lit the candles, I got to take turns with my brother blowing them out, and that was always a lot of fun. So keep that in mind. So this is one idea. Very simple, just basic things that I found at Target. Basic things, didn't cost a whole lot of money, but things that you could reuse in other ways during the rest of the year, but that would have a wreath with the 4 candles and allow you to do those daily devotions, that lighting, that ritual, that spiritual practice of lighting these candles and spending some time preparing your heart for the coming of Christ. I also thought, what if somebody doesn't want to spend even Target money on this? Could you make an Advent wreath with things from the dollar store? I decided to check it out. So I went to our local dollar store, just Dollar Tree. I'm sure you have one near you. They seem to be ubiquitous. And I thought, what could I find at Dollar Tree that would make an Advent wreath? I found this, first of all. This is the best kind of wreath they had, and I've got to admit, it's not very Advent-y. It's not very big. It's just a kind of vine woodish kind of wreath. By itself, not much, but again, $1. And I found these greens, and again, they're not real greens, but neither was this. And if you wanted to, of course, you could go out and cut branches from a local pine tree in your backyard and use those to make your Advent wreath too. But I found these, and it has some holly and berries on it, so a little festive addition, I suppose. And I wasn't sure if that was going to be enough to kind of make the wood, to hide the wood. So I found some green ribbon too. And I thought if I wound those 2 things around the wreath, then I would have the start of an Advent wreath. But I also thought this one is not as stable as my one from Target, so maybe I don't want to use real candles. But you can also get these fun things, and again, these are available at the dollar store in little packs of 2, I think, or sometimes 4, depending on what time of year you find them. And they are battery-operated candles, obviously. So those can easily be set on top of this one. And again, if you want to glue it, you could do that. Be tougher to glue these because you would want to be able to turn them on and off. And the switch, of course, is on the bottom. But again, something fun that you could do. I'm going to make this wreath put it together and come back and show you a picture of my completed dollar store Advent wreath. We'll see how it turns out. So I'm back with my dollar store Advent wreath, and this is how it turned out. It's not too bad. I would put this on my door, the ribbon underneath, and then the kind of garland, I guess, on top. And I actually got this silver plate. Again, it's just a charger that I got at the dollar store to put it on just to kind of keep the mess down. And my 4 candles. So I put those on my little wreath, and I can see where kids would have a lot of fun turning these candles on and lighting the candles throughout the season of Advent. So there you go. That would have been $1, 2, 3, 4, $5 for an Advent wreath that you could use at home. So I really hope that you, however you get creative with it, that you find the time to put together an Advent wreath for you, for your family, for your household, and find a way to incorporate this spiritual practice as part of your Advent preparation this year. Be blessed, my friends, and we'll see you again soon.